All right, we're going to let everybody kind of filter back in. And I'm going to pull up the app on my my phone here before we get rocking and rolling into the MVP and all that stuff.
Hey, am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, everything should be sounding good. Let me just get some clarification in the chat. I don't know. Can you guys hear him now? Can you hear music in the background?
I hear music whenever I'm playing the thing now. I
Okay.
didn't before.
Okay. I don't know. Like I said,
I haven't heard my voice.
my computer
Yep,
froze.
I hear myself now. We're good. Great!
All right, let's go ahead and move on here. Let's see where we're at. With everything, all right, Denver Broncos obviously projected to get 5 wins this season. They're at 5 wins already, 2 games left. When you look at this Denver Broncos team, do you think they kind of excelled this season? They're coming off a win here against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have been struggling. In order to beat the 5-win projection, they got to take on the Carolina Panthers. I don't think they're getting that dub. And then the kind of hot Tennessee Titans right now. It's going to be tough. What do you think, Lib? What are the chances that they can figure it out and beat this prediction?
I'm not too hot on them to beat anything right now, but I think they're doing the right thing. So they go out and they get Antoine Holloway to run the ball. He averages 5 yards per carry. This is a good step in the right direction. So they've got 5 wins right now. They still have some games left. I'm not sure that they're going to be able to get a win over the Panthers. And I still think that they're not quite there to get to the Titans. But they keep on building. Maybe they roll with Jameis Winston. I would like to see them move off. This would be a great team for Andrew Luck because they're 32nd in the pass game. I'm not sure that they're going to make that move. But if they did, that would really get that offense rolling with the run game at Andrew Luck. That would put them in a position to start to get around 500. And then they can keep building, break into the playoff picture. So I think that they're taking the right moves. That slow rebuild, I like it. I like where they're going. I like their direction.
Yeah, Kyler Murray had an abysmal day as he tossed 4 interceptions. This is coming from 10 hours ago. The Cardinals might have been better without him. They somehow do defeat the Eagles 27-24, and the Cardinals are fortunate for a W as they struggle to close out the NFC West, dropping 4 out of their last 5. And, man, it should probably be 5 out of 5. What's going on with the Arizona Cardinals? I know we're talking about playoffs with them, and it looks like they're likely going to get in. But, I mean, this might be the weakest limp into the playoffs we've seen in quite a while. But it seems like it always comes from this division.
Yeah, whenever we were talking about these topics, this kind of started out whenever they had they were kind of rolling, and then they had this awful stretch where they almost lose to the Seahawks. They lost to the Giants, the Redskins, and they almost lose to the Eagles there. So they're kind of in a weird position now to where it was like an exciting playoff Cardinals team. There was a lot of hype, and now it's like, oh, they're kind of limping in. Their defense is playing like really bad. They average as many points as they do on offense and defense. So it's just there's not any direction or any real identity with this team. It was just a couple of losses that kind of shook things up for them.
Bleacher Report, fun fact for season 41, every time fullback Derek Watt, the best Watt brother, that's what they're saying, touches the ball for the Los Angeles Chargers, he scores a touchdown. NBL season 41. Oh, and now I get a commercial playing over here. Great. I don't even know what's going on at this point. He gets a touchdown. Watt has 7 carries for 7 touchdowns, tying Melvin Gordon to lead the team. What do you think about this? Fullback, 7 for 7 so far, Derek Watt. That's kind of crazy.
That might be one of the best stat lines for a fullback we've ever seen in the entire NBL. But, I mean, look, you're inside the 3 with Tyrod Taylor and John Lenz as your quarterbacks. What else do you got? You got Melvin Gordon, who's at 11 out of 11 people are watching. What else are you going to do? Hand it to the guy that's got a shorter distance to the goal line, let him punch it in. I mean, he's 7 for 7. He's doing a good job. Keep it rolling.
All right, the Kansas City Chiefs are the only team in the AFC West that will be ending NBL Season 41 above 500, thus securing them in the playoffs. Your Mahomes update brings you news that he surpassed his last season touchdown total and now sits at 43 touchdowns. Will he get the 50? I'll answer this. 2 games left, 7 touchdowns to go. The Kansas City Chiefs who do they have up on the docket coming up? It looks like they play the Miami Dolphins, who give up a ton of, and that could be 4 or 5 touchdowns there in that game. And then they finish with the Panthers. That'll be tough. It's going to be tough to hit 50 touchdowns. I'd say it's a 50-50 toss right now, just because the Dolphins and the Panthers, you can't get any more opposite than that. Carolina's been one of the best teams in the NBL so far. So when you look at those two games, I think he might get 5 touchdowns versus the Dolphins, 4 or 5. If he gets 5, I think he'll do it, but it's going to be tough. The Carolina Panthers have one of the best defenses in the league. All right, we're at the morning buzz from today. We're moving along. Let's go ahead and start picking this up here. The morning buzz, the Jags defeat the Chargers 37-7, almost guaranteeing them a playoff spot. Panthers' perfect season folds 17-10, loss to the Vikings, so they're not perfect no more. And we've already talked about Calvin Vaughn, wide receiver, been on fire, 385 yards, 5 touchdowns in the last 2 games. He's been balling. Derek Carr has led the Oakland Raiders to 3 W's, but it might not be enough to keep him around even with his remaining contract. The quarterback has 27 interceptions, up 12 from last season, while only throwing 12 touchdowns, down 2 from last season. Is the car's tank running on empty? Okay, a little play on words there. I don't look too much into Derek Carr. I think he'll eventually be a free agent at some point, or maybe even somebody will trade for him. Maybe. But I don't think Derek Carr is going to last much longer with the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, I mean, free agency, I could see somebody giving a, 3rd or 4th for him, depending on how desperate the quarterback positions are once we hit the offseason. I could see that happening, but there's not a lot of buzz around it. It's just one of those things. It might happen, but it's not gonna make a big impact in my mind.
Yeah, here we go. Falcons beat the Cowboys with defense, and Julio Jones showing he's still a top 3 receiver in the NBL. Yeah, top 3? I don't know if he's a top 3 receiver in the NBL. Now let's go ahead and pull up some Julio Jones stats real quick. I know we're going to talk about the Falcons later, but 58 catches, 1,300 yards, 16 touchdowns. Man, he might just be. He's having a very nice season. I mean, against Kansas City, he had 11 catches for 201. He's had multiple 200-yard games this season. Actually, 3 of them to be exact. He did it against Denver, 5 for 220, and then he did it week 13 against Kansas City, 11 for 201. Then week 15, 4 for 217. I don't think anybody has had that many 200-yard receiving games this season with 3 already. Yeah, maybe Julio Jones, maybe overlooking him right now. But are the Falcons bound for a rematch versus the Patriots? We'll talk about that in a little bit, so I don't want to go into that at all. Predicted to go 8-8 in NBL Season 41. The Rams only have a quarter of the W's. That's right, they're sitting at 2-12. Good enough for the 3rd pick this offseason, but they don't have their pick. The Carolina Panthers, not the Carolina Panthers, the Cincinnati Bengals have their pick. What do you think about that trade that essentially now you look at it and the Rams gave essentially a top 3, top 4 pick to the Cincinnati Bengals for Jesse Bates? I like Jesse Bates, 23 years old, 86 overall safety, but a top 3 pick, Daddy Leaks has him valued at a late 1st round pick.
Yeah, there's no way that but, I mean, whenever you make that trade, you're not really expecting that to be, everybody expects that pick to be higher, so it is what it is, but that's still a position that I don't think you really ever give a 1st-round pick for unless you're in a position where you're that player away from being, conference championship situation, you know what I mean? That's not really all right, we're in a rebuild or we're expecting to be 8-8. Let's give up our 1st for a safety. That's not really where it starts. Yeah,
it looks like they kind of put the cart before the horse there in L.A. The Rams just who's a better team? Who's a better L.A. team in the NBL right now? The Rams or the Chargers? Chargers, right?
Absolutely, the Chargers.
Yeah, 100%, right?
Yeah.
All right, it was a battle of rookie quarterbacks when Saints took on the Vikings, and they played their Week 15 matchup. Dwyer leading the Minnesota Vikings, and you got Luke Windsor, who was the number 1 quarterback selected in the NBL Season 41 rookie draft. The Saints ended up losing that game 20-16. They had an opportunity to win with time expiring, but Michael Thomas couldn't haul in the pass, and they looked real shaky at the end. It looked like 2 teams kind of led by young rookie quarterbacks. I've been really impressed with Dwyer. Luke Windsor, I think, is obviously the strong arm quarterback that you kind of, I still think he has a lot of room to grow, but Dwyer is looking like the best quarterback out of this draft.
Yeah, and I think that's a large part of that's the scheme that they play. They run the ball. They use a lot of clock. They control the game very well, Minnesota. I want to see them make the playoffs and go on a run. Might not happen this year with a young quarterback throwing more interceptions than touchdowns, but your rookie quarterback next year he'll have an entire offseason to learn and develop. And I really think the way that they play their offense plus their defense, that this could be a team to compete for the NFC Championship.
Texans secured the number 2 seed in the AFC with a 31-26 victory over your Kansas City Chiefs, but it came at a cost. Deshaun Watson goes down with a broken collarbone. Doctors are saying it will take about 8 weeks to recover, 7 weeks now, but Watson hopefully can get an early return. I know Houston, myself, is kind of looking at that and thinking, okay, if he can just come back early, we got a couple weeks to play with, especially with the bye week to start the playoffs. There might be some fun if he can get back in the mix, but without him, it's going to be Blake Bortles at quarterback for the Houston Texans. Rock Ya-Sin might be the only bright spot for the Colts, and you hear Josh talk about this guy a lot. This cornerback makes plays. He's got 4 sacks, 5 interceptions on the season with Andrew Luck available for trade after a horrific season. Maybe the Colts will get players on the defensive side of the ball to help Ya-Sin. I like this kid. He made a lot of plays. He makes plays on NBA Live in the bright lights. I've seen him do it. I've played against him 2 times a season. I like him a lot. He's probably is the lone bright spot, and he's the young corner on this team that can make plays. How impressive has he been this season?
Yeah, he's been impressive, but there's really nothing else around him to kind of help that out. Their defense is bottom in the NBL, but you look at that and you take a piece and you try to keep building around that. The guy's got 7 interceptions on the year. That's pretty good, especially for a young player. 4 sacks so that he can get to the quarterback a little bit. But this is just a team that doesn't really have a lot to go off of, so you just have to pick the defender that's giving you something and just start with that. You're 1-13. It's not getting much better. So this offseason is where the rebuild starts, and you're going to start with him on defense. Yeah,
you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, another team balling in the NBL right now. Squeezes by a win versus Steelers. And then they rebound and just thump the Los Angeles Chargers 37-7. You're going to see the ups and downs of this Jaguar team because they are led by a rookie quarterback right now. This is Finnegan leading this Jacksonville Jaguar team with DJ Shark, Leonard Fournette. You have a lot of explosive weapons on the offensive side of the ball, but you still got a young quarterback there, so expect the up and downs to happen offensively. But as long as the defense can create turnovers, they've been the best at forcing turnovers this season in the NBL. That could pay beneficial in the playoffs as they're trying to secure that wild card spot here in the last 2 weeks. After suffering their first loss versus the Minnesota Vikings, the Carolina Panthers defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 34-17. McCaffrey goes over 100 total yards and 2 scores, while the defense forced 4 fumbles. Are the Panthers the most complete team in the NBL? I think, man, they're in the conversation. Absolutely. I think the Patriots are the best team, but the Carolina Panthers, I think, are the best team in the NFC, without question, to me right now.
Yeah, I would give that the best, the most well-oiled machine is the Patriots, but the big thing with the Panthers is they needed that loss. If they go into the playoffs without a loss, they're absolutely cooked. They're done. But that's that's one of those games where, like I said, Vikings can play a certain way and beat anybody in the league, so that's why I'm very excited about them in the next couple of years. Panthers just had an off week. They were, they had several wins in a row. They needed a loss. And they got it there. Now they can kind of refocus up and hit the playoffs.
Well, they almost took a loss in Week 15 to the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And it was 17-17 in the fourth, and they ended up scoring. But I like it. I like the ability to come away with wins in close games. I like the ability that they have to defeat powerhouse teams inside their division. The Atlanta Falcons, they gave them the clean sweep this year. Those are kind of makings of a team that can go on a deep playoff run. I mean, if you really want to look at the Carolina Panthers and what they've been able to do this season, you have to look at their wins, their close wins, their blowout wins, and then their wins against the Atlanta Falcons. They pretty much find ways to do it all. Yeah, they have a loss to the Vikings, but like you said, I think that might be better than it is bad because everybody needs to take that loss going in. You don't want that pressure trying to do that perfect season in the NBL, but the Patriots might be up for the challenge. With Ronald Jones out for the season with a broken foot, Alex Collins has filled in nicely for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Collins is on the season, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaging 6.5 yards a touch. Could we see the Bucs utilize a 2-back system next season? No, I don't think so. I don't know if Alex Collins will even be there. next season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You look at a Tampa team, you never know what's up in the air, but Ronald Jones is a solid halfback for this team. Alex Collins sitting at 26 years old. He signed a 5-year deal, but his cap penalty's really, really low. I mean, he's got $2 million guaranteed. They might want to free up that $4 or $5 million and get really aggressive in free agency. And Ronald Jones is a star halfback, 23 years old, 81 overall, 94 speed, 94 excel, 95 agility, 87 elusiveness. I mean, health is the only concern there. Alex Collins has looked good in a small little stint, a big game against the Detroit Lions, 14 attempts, 132 yards, but I just don't see it. When I see a cap penalty at $2 million, he signs a 5-year deal, his salary, he's making $5 million, I could see that just being easy, just cutting a cut player the next year, and you just kind of save the salary cap and get aggressive in free agency.
Yeah, it's like the Bucs just didn't really show up a lot this year. They got Chris Godwin in the past game. Other than that, it's kind of like they were on vacation this season, but it's going to be one of those things where they kind of go back. They got to decide if they're rolling with Rivers in the future. They've got to patch up this defense. They've allowed a ton of yards, and just figure out the quarterback position, figure out some defense, and then, like I said, it starts with running the ball on the ground, so you pick one of those guys and roll, and then you start to fix those other areas and see what you can do.
All right, our last Bleacher Report we're going to cover here before we get rocking and rolling into the MVP leaders. Jets are 8-6 with 2 games remaining, and they will face the undefeated Patriots next week. That is this week. To clinch a wild card spot, the Jets must win out. Their previous meeting with the Patriots ended in a 35-17 loss. Do the Jets make the playoffs, and do they break the Patriots' undefeated season? Do they give them the first L? And that is a necessary L they would have to give to make the playoffs. So this is a big-time game for both teams if the Patriots are looking at trying to complete that undefeated miracle run like I think that they are.
Yeah, it's very strange. This is the Jets are one of those teams that I thought was going to be one of the teams that really kind of surprised people. I thought that the Jets and the Patriots would battle back and forth a lot, and that really has not happened at all yet. The Jets really took a step back this year. I don't think that they are able to get this win, and it's just they got a lot of offense. They kind of really don't have anything on defense. It just kind of seems like they're one of those teams that they don't really perform well against teams like the playoff teams, the good teams, and I don't know why. They've got some pieces. Maybe it's Sam Darnold just isn't doing everything under pressure, but I just don't think the Jets are able to knock off the Patriots this week, and I really think that the Patriots go into the playoffs 16-0.
Yeah, shout out to the Washington Redskins. Started the season 0-5 and have rallied to find themselves at a 6-8. That's right. They've won 6 and lost 2 in their last 8 games. You look at this team, rookie wide receiver James Styles has been a big part of the turnaround, hauling in 46 passes, 816 yards. What has been the difference for the Redskins? Kind of just they're giving their fans some hope here in the NBL. And I think this might be a team to look at maybe for a wild card spot in NBL season 42.
Yeah, and I think the direct link to this is last year they had 2 guys combined for a little bit more than 500 yards. And now this year they've got Bryce Love. He's got 500 yards himself. So they are getting a little bit better on the ground, a little bit, better at controlling the game, running the ball. They still don't have a lot on defense, and they're still turning the ball over way too much on offense. But Haskins, he's at right around 24-24 right now. If he can finish the year a little bit positive, that's a step in the right direction. QBR is up 10 points, so they are moving in the right direction. I think you're dead on that they could be competing for a wild card spot next year. Yeah,
we had some breaking news earlier. We talked about it. We'll touch on it now since the broadcast got a little interrupted here. You're watching Commissioner Corner podcast, episode number 66. Andrew Luck, trade alert. He's going to be on the block. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Andrew Luck could fit a lot of teams. You got the San Francisco 49ers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even maybe the Detroit Lions. Lip brought up a lot of these NFC teams might be interested in a quick release quarterback, that superstar X factor. So that was kind of our breaking news coming into this to this podcast. Let's go ahead and move forward though. Let's talk MVPs a little bit. And here we go, MVP leaders. Well, we'll first talk with, we got 5 guys that we mentioned here as MVP candidates. At number 5, which I don't even think he should be in the list, is my own guy, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson on the season, 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Good win-loss record for the Houston Texans, but Deshaun Watson has not been playing at the level he was playing at last season. Had some injury issues, missed a couple games early on, and now is out once again. Watson's injured here. As you see him right there on the screen, he's broken collarbone out 7 weeks. Lip, I think this was a missed opportunity to talk about Christian McCaffrey or Myles Garrett. Both of those guys did not make the list. Lip, why is Watson on this list?
Well, at the time that this was on, this was made a little bit ago. So Watson had, was in that position where he was playing a little bit better. The game against the Jets there was not really accounted for because this was a couple of weeks ago. So he didn't play against the Jets, so it's just a little bit skewed due to that. I'm not real high on defenders as MVP candidates. I know that we had Khalil Mack have 104 sacks last season. That's one of those situations that I can get on board with. But Myles Garrett, you bring that up, 26 sacks. I mean, J.J. Watt's at 27, DeMarcus Lawrence is at 25, and both of those other guys are having better years on teams who are having better years. So I'm not sure that I go into the defensive player there whenever no one really stands out. But yeah, I can understand the Christian McCaffrey portion of this because he 1,100 yards, 15 touchdowns. He's almost up there with Zeke as far as touchdowns. And 13-1 Panthers team, that's a very good team, and they're probably not there without McCaffrey.
Yeah, absolutely. At number 4, we got Matt Ryan, usual suspect here. Once again, I still think it's a little bit telling that we don't have any Carolina Panthers on here, and Carolina has dominated Matt Ryan. So you look at these stats so far, 3,700 yards, 41 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 73% completion, QBR 139.8. I mean, you can't argue with that. That's why Matt Ryan is on the list. I would have liked to see Christian McCaffrey. I know Cam doesn't necessarily have the passing numbers, but McCaffrey I'd like to see, or Myles Garrett, because of the success that they've brought to their team this season. What are your thoughts on Matt Ryan, 35 years old, still getting it done? And as we said, Julio has crazy numbers right now, sitting as a top 3 according to Bleacher Report at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, and just to go back to that, I definitely think Julio is an amazing receiver. He's definitely top 3. Still extremely talented. My big thing is I'm just not back to Matt Ryan. He's got good numbers. Now the thing is they're not really competing against the Panthers this year, but I think that whenever it comes down to playoff time, they're going to be able to get the W over the Panthers. I know that really doesn't play into the MVP talk right now, but I just think with the numbers that he's put up, and once again, whenever this was being talked about, his QBR was around 145, which was like 10, 13 points away from being perfect. It's dropped down to 139 now, so it's down a little bit. But still, he's in one of those situations where he's having an almost perfect season, so he's got to be on the list.
Absolutely. At number 3, we got Patrick Mahomes here. Just a phenomenal season, 41 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, slightly better than Matt Ryan across the board. I think the Atlanta Falcons do have a better record than the Kansas City Chiefs, but you look at the passing attack to rushing attack for both of those teams. Kansas City sitting at, we're going to get another commercial here. All right, let me go ahead and just skip this real quick. It was a bad idea using this music off of YouTube. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs at 10-4. This is a team that passes the ball. I mean, this is why I would put Mahomes over top of Matt Ryan, because you got the 31st rushing attack and the number 1 passing attack. It shows you how important Patrick Mahomes is to this team. Matt Ryan, on the flip side, he's sitting there playing with the 7th best rushing attack. He's the 5th best passing attack. So that balanced ability, I think, really gives you a two-headed monster, which allows you to be successful at the quarterback position. That's something that Patrick Mahomes doesn't really have.
Yeah, and there's not, just to clarify, this was not put in order by me.
I put the 5 in order. Yeah.
Okay. So, and Mahomes, playing good, but there's not really any rushing attack. No monster in the backfield that you're afraid of in KC. But I think that with the Falcons, that's kind of a different situation. So you kind of look at those things, but being my guy, I don't really have much other input on that.
Yeah, I got Mahomes at 3. I got Brady ahead of Mahomes, obviously because Brady's undefeated right now, and his 31 touchdowns of 5 interceptions, 73% QBR of 145.8, and this is a guy that's doing it against his owner's will. His owner, Motor, is actually looking at trying to incorporate Tyree Jackson into the fold with the New England Patriots, and he's getting some throws. He's kind of taking the end of games and getting attempts. He saw 12 attempts against Seattle. I mean, he's always in there throwing a pass or two. I mean, they're looking towards the future here. Week 8 against Miami, he had 11 attempts. Week 11 against the Seahawks, he had 12 attempts. So they're looking at moving this guy in. So it's just Tom Brady just continues to be Tom Terrific. Yeah, only 2,900 passing yards, but 31 touchdowns of 5 interceptions with the 73% completion percentage, 145 QBR. I mean, he just has almost been just nothing slight of perfect so far. He's just been phenomenal.
Yeah, and not to take away from Tom Brady, but I mean, they've got Will Stevens as a rookie, averaging 8 yards per carry, almost 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns on the year. So this is such a well-balanced, perfect offense. Brady doesn't even have to throw that much. I think he's got 100 less attempts than some of these other guys, only 2,800 yards. So it's a kind of a weird situation, but they are putting up the most points. They are undefeated. So, I mean, he's definitely one of those players that without him, where are they at?
Yeah, absolutely. And at number 1, I got Zeke Elliott right now. You see Khalil Mack in the top left. He was the MVP last season. I got Zeke Elliott, 7.3 yards per carry, over 1,400 yards. He's going to probably eclipse 1,700 yards. What did he do today? 29 broken tackles, 20 touchdowns. I mean, he's just been unreal for the Cowboys with their rushing attack being 4th, their passing attack. It's almost the opposite of what Lip has going on. They're not getting a ton in the passing attack, only passed for 2,600 yards. They've ran for 14, nearly 1,500 with Zeke Elliott. I mean, you just look at this guy and what he's been able to do without a strong passing attack. You know the run's coming, and he still continues just to ground and pound. Cowboys sitting at 12-3. I believe they'll probably finish. Let's see who they play week 17. Week 17 is the Seahawks. I mean, you could easily say 13-3 for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, just really, really just crazy numbers here from Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, and one of the things that stands out, is just the 7-34 loss to the Falcons is Zeke 6 attempts for 48 yards, wasn't really able to get going, and some other games there. He's had a couple big games, but the thing with Zeke that kind of sets him apart and why he's probably here instead of McCaffrey and even Barkley. Barkley's got 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns. The thing that sets Elliott apart is that he's got 20 touchdowns. I mean, He's killing it compared to last year. Last year had a good year. I think he was hurt for a little bit of a stretch. Only 11 touchdowns, just over 1,000 yards. But this year, 7 yards per carry, 1,500 yards, 20 touchdowns. He's going to keep on. He's going to have more whenever they play their final game. So, and that's kind of the guy that sets the pace for the team.
Yeah, he's at 15-25 right now. He just had 60 yards versus the Rams in a 24-0 victory. 15-25, averaging 7.2 yards per carry. I mean, it's just tough. It's tough to bet against Zeke Elliott. Those are our MVP predictions so far, where we think everything's going. Obviously, I wouldn't have put Deshaun Watson in there. I would have had maybe CMC tied with a little Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett's had a phenomenal season for that Browns team, kind of leading that defensive charge, who's kind of playing a little bit of like a Cinderella role here, trying to win that division. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Cardinals playoff success recipe. We don't have much to talk about the Cardinals. It's kind of the topic here. We're just surprised. So just give us a little 2 minutes on the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, like I said, whenever we were kind of going over this, we wanted to talk about the Cardinals because they were sitting in a nice position, and then they go out and they get stomped by the Patriots. They lose to the Cowboys. They barely get a win against the Seahawks. They lose to the Giants. They lose to the Redskins. They almost lose to the Eagles. So they're on this about 6-game stretch where they were playing good. They were beating the teams they should have, and then they kind of they just got buried by the Patriots. And then they play a tough Cowboys team, and then it's just kind of hard to get things going where they drop 2 games there that they probably shouldn't. They really should be at 10-4 right now. I think that they can beat the Giants and the Redskins pretty, I think that those are the teams they should beat. So they should be in a different position. Now we've got this topic up here, and we've got the Cardinals. They score 24 points a game, and their defense allows 24 points a game. And those have drastically switched just in the last couple of weeks, because something has changed with that Cardinals team. And that's why I'm not sure if it was on this show before we had to restart, but we talked about how that division is going to keep flip-flopping, and that's kind of why. People get out to a little bit of a lead. Something happens. You can't really put your finger on it, and then another team creeps up, and that's where you've got the Seahawks at 7-7. They're not going to do it this year, but next year,
I don't know, man. I've seen crazier things happen. The Cardinals have to lose to the Niners, which when last time they played the San Francisco 49ers, they won 34-22. It's really going to come back if you're a Seahawk fan in the NBL. You lost Week 5, 23-17, and then you came back on the road Week 12. It was a must-win game. I mean, if you win that game, you guys are both knotted up at 7-7 right now. You lost 35-31. That pretty much is the season for the Arizona Cardinals. It's not about really beating the other team. It's really about beating the guys within the division. And they did a great job of that this season. They haven't lost. They're 5-0. Opportunity to go for a 6-0 sweep inside their division. That means if they win against the Niners here in Week 16, that will be 6 of their 9 wins have came against their division, and that puts them 3-6 against the rest of the league. So once again, this is just a division that comes down to, can you beat the guys within your division? That likely is going to propel you, because everybody in your division is losing to everybody else as well. We're going to go ahead and move on here from the Arizona Cardinals. The chances the Arizona Cardinals get a playoff win, Lip, before we officially rule them out.
Playoff win? I think that their only chance, and I mean, I'm just going off of what Daddy Leagues has here. Daddy Leagues has them against the Falcons. I don't think there's any chance that the Cardinals beat the Falcons. But if they do get matched up against the Packers or the Vikings,
you never know.
Let me take Cardinals-Vikings. Like I've said, the Vikings kind of play a slower. They really control the game really well, and that could either mean two things. They could be overwhelmed by the aggressiveness of the Cardinals.
I think that's a bad matchup. Let's save that for Crossfire. Let's go ahead and move on here.
All right.
Put a pin in that one. All right, we're moving on here. Falcons versus Patriots. Shout out to Darce Knight. Shout out to our man JB and Project Fat for helping put this show together. New England Patriots, Atlanta Falcons. We're talking maybe a Super Bowl rematch here. Patriots averaging 31 points per game. Falcons averaging 29 points per game. But look at these teams' offensive and defensive kind of outputs there. They're right where they want to be. The only thing I'm concerned about defensively, you look at the Patriots, they're first across the board. They're giving up less than 200 yards. Less than 200 total yards, 150 passing yards, 43 rushing yards. They're only giving up 11 points per game. Now you look at the Atlanta Falcons. Their passing defense has not been good. The pass rush has not been the same. You've heard that they've reached out for certain players. They're looking for a pass rusher. This is why. Can the Patriots kind of meet up in the Super Bowl again as they did in NBL Season 40? And could we expect a different maybe result? They were 33-10 in Season 40. You see it there at the bottom.
Yeah, well, I think in the AFC, you have just going off what we've got. You probably have to go with the Patriots as being the favorite, just because they haven't lost yet. Based on their schedule, they're probably not going to lose going into the playoffs. Based on NBL history, that would mean they're probably not going to make it to the Super Bowl. But I don't know. This team, their defense is pretty incredible. So it's hard to, leave them out of it. So I think that they have a really good chance to get back into it. And then in the NFC, I absolutely do think that the Falcons are going to be back there, because the Falcons-Panthers games are kind of trending that way. The Panthers beat the heck out of the Falcons the first matchup. Second matchup, the Falcons only lost by 3. And like I've always said, I think it's hard to beat the same team multiple times in the same season. So I think that game is kind of trending in the Falcons' favor. They don't turn the ball over a little bit. They control the game. I think that they can beat the Panthers. And that's really... And I don't want to say all the other teams aren't there. I just don't think that the other teams in the NFC, other than the Panthers and Falcons, really are competing for the Super Bowl.
I think Panthers. Yet. I think the Panthers, if they match up, if they end up taking on the Atlanta Falcons at some point, I think they beat them by a lot. I think it's a blowout. That's my thing. I just think Carolina has their number. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they got Atlanta's number, and I think the 3-point victory was. A lot of things went in the favor of the Falcons that game. I was able to watch that game. and I just don't see them getting. They caught a lot of tough catches and held on to the ball, missed opportunities for the Panthers. The Panthers played phenomenal that game, and it just seems like they're a step or two ahead. And I think, if anything, that game being as close as it was is a false hope for the Atlanta Falcons. I think if the Falcons would have got blown out that second game, maybe they come with a different approach, and it would be maybe kind of just add a different layer to this chess match that they're playing. But I believe with it being close, Atlanta feels like, okay, we'll just stay the course here. And I didn't see anything that really showed that they could slow down this Carolina Panthers offense when they faced off in that second game. So, I mean, I'm all on the Carolina Panthers train, and I think Carolina-Dallas in the NFC Championship game, while I like Carolina more, big games, and I just could see maybe Carolina just kind of, the pressure gets to them. I think that would be a real interesting game, Carolina Panthers versus the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. But I do believe if the Falcons play the Cowboys, I think they got their number. They've shown that they can beat them by a lot. But Carolina, Atlanta, I like Carolina 100%. I'd put money on it at this point. I really believe that Carolina is ready to make a big playoff splash. And I think JB's ready as an owner to go on a nice little run here. On the AFC side, I always want to root for myself here, but with an injury to Deshaun Watson, someone's going to have to be able to stop this Patriots team. And I think your Chiefs have an opportunity because I feel like defensively you guys have gotten better. It's going to just come down to not turning the ball over. You can't turn the ball over against the New England Patriots. That's what you have to do. Protect the ball and not make costly turnovers, especially ones that give them great field position. So we'll see how it plays out, but I think the Patriots Panthers is where I'm at for the Super Bowl. Any final thoughts? What do you guys think in the chat?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of good matchups, and a lot of this depends on you've got a lot of different styles and different owners in the AFC and the NFC that it kind of comes down to matchups too. Like you said, there's a couple different things where the right matchup happens, you can see things going a completely different way. Because you can look at these 6 teams and pick, oh, that's the best team and that's the best team. But whenever they play, if somehow the Ravens make it to the AFC Championship against the Patriots, who knows? Or, what if a team knocks them off early and then you've got 2 different teams? It's just completely wide open. Because of the different skill sets and
the Arizona Cardinals might be in the playoffs, but that's just such a crazy wild card team. I could see them upsetting somebody or just completely getting blown out. Let's move to the Crossfire segment. We actually got a lot of stuff going on in this segment. We'll talk about some breakout players that we're going to mention here. Actually, we'll get right into it right now. We'll go ahead and we'll talk about our first breakout player here. I'm going to do some breakout players every Commissioner Corner podcast, who I believe is kind of breaking out right now.
Breakout player.
Amari Cooper is a breakout player right now, Lip. Go ahead and pull up his stat sheet on Daddy Leagues. I think Cooper, this is his second year with OSU and these Cowboys, and you look at it, he's at 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, 1133 on 62 catches. He's right where he was last year with the game left to play. I just think he's a solid 60 to 70 reception, 1150 to 1300 yard receiver. He's going to get you double-digit touchdowns. He's just a breakout player, going to be 27 next year. I think he's one of the top 5 receivers in the NBL, top 5, top 6, top 7. We already had a breakout with Mecole Hardman. We put that out on Bleacher Report. But what do you guys think about Amari Cooper? What do you think about him, Lip?
I think that he is in that position where I think next year I'd really like to see him go for 15 or 1600 yards. Very tough to do whenever Zeke is running the ball so well. But this offense, with him kind of getting out here and being a dominant number 1, you got Zeke obviously, absolutely as a breakout player. Definitely one of those guys that you have to keep an eye on. And it's so hard whenever you play the Cowboys. You've got to watch Amari Cooper. You've got to watch Zeke Elliott. Really, you can only try to pick one to attack, and that's why they're able to have such success, both of them.
Yeah, and if they're going to go on a playoff run, he's going to be one of the guys that needs to step up and make some big plays. Let's take another look at I hit the wrong button there. Let's take another look here at another breakout player. We talked about him earlier, Mecole Hardman for the New York Jets. He did it week 1, NBL Live, kicked us off against the Miami Dolphins. He went for 200+. He's a former Kansas City Chief. He's turned into a star there for the New York Jets, and they're going to need him to come up big if they have any chance of getting back in this playoff conversation there in the AFC. But he is a breakout star for them. The only issue with him is the best ability is availability, and Hardman has an injury history, but he's been clean bill of health here with the New York Jets, as expected.
Tell you what. Right? This guy leaves Kansas City every 3 weeks. The guy would leave the game. He would be out. Not game. He would get hurt. He was just such a problem, so we sent him away whenever we could get the most for him. We got a first-round pick for him, and then he goes to the Jets where he stayed healthy every single week. But one of the big things was we were kind of afraid that the speed was going to, with him and Le'Veon Bell, that offense was going to take off, and it really hasn't been, as a team, it really hasn't made them, a lot different than last year because they're kind of sitting in a worse position as last year. So maybe they're trying to focus on him too much rather than just have a good balanced scheme and kind of roll with it. So there's a lot of questions there in Jets because I thought that they were going to be a much better team than 8-6 here in the second season.
Yeah, he doubled his fantasy output, 200 fantasy points already this year, 104 last year, obviously dealing with injury, 68 catches, 1,162 yards, 14 touchdowns, very Amari Cooper-esque. Our last breakout player for this episode, we're focusing on wide receivers right now because I feel like that's my specialty, recognizing wide receiver talent. So the next guy I got as a breakout star here on the Commissioner Corner podcast is Miles Boykin for the Baltimore Ravens. Do you know how desperately they needed another wide receiver that can make plays? And this guy just fits perfectly with Marquise Hollywood Brown. He's 53 catches, 1,007 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And I'll tell you what, this is a kid that's going to be phenomenal in the upcoming years. Out of Notre Dame, 6'4", 220 pounds, 92 speed, 91 excel. Jumping 96, agility 90. This guy's got 3 years left, so he's going to have 2 years. He's going to be 24 next season, still with 2 years left on his deal. He's a 76 overall. This guy is a breakout star for me because he hits 1,000 yards at a 76 overall. Think about it. I think this kid's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver in the NBL for years to come. I expect him double digits touchdowns next season. But Miles Boykin, breakout star. Tell me what you know about him, what you think about him.
Yeah, well, whenever we were trying to ship Mecole Hardman, we were kind of looking for a replacement, and there was a couple of teams we reached out to.
Wait, hold on. I think we definitely are the reason why Boykin's a breakout star because Z was interested, was thinking about moving him at one point, and then I hit him up about him, and then you hit him up about him, and then he realized, man, I got something here, so I'm gonna play this guy.
I messaged. We got in contact with a couple of different owners, and we were looking to bring in one of their wide receivers. And their decision because pairing Boykin up with Brown and Mark Andrews, plus you got Lamar Jackson. Those guys all have a lot of speed. They're very quick, and that's going to be one very quick, very young. It's going to be a great offense for the next 8 seasons here in the NBL, and it's a great decision to go ahead with Miles Boykin, keep him out there because a lot of the focus is on Marquise Brown, and you've just got the consistent hammer and Mark Andrews, and then you go to Miles Boykin, who is the breakout star because nobody really had a lot of interest in him, and then it started to build a little bit, and then he has this breakout season. He's being a great player, and like I said, 8 seasons, this team's going to be extremely talented on offense.
Z saying that's not true. What's not true? I hit you up about him. You said you would be interested. We were going to talk about it. And then I guess Lip hit you up and a couple other people hit you up. And you might have realized, oh, man, if guys can stay healthy, that's what it's coming down to. I mean, one of the most injury-prone halfbacks in the NFL right now is the guy that you need to stay healthy. I mean, that's just kind of his thing. I mean, it really is like a Le'Veon Bell thing. Le'Veon Bell used to get injured in the NBL. It's really, if he can just be healthy at the end of the season, that's kind of what you want from certain halfbacks. Crossfire segment here, playoff predictions, Lip. Who do you got coming out? Or better yet, who do you got in the finals in the AFC Championship game? And who do you have in the NFC Championship game?
So in the AFC, I think that this is how we're gonna roll with this. I think that the Texans, honestly, I think Deshaun Watson is only going to miss week 16, 17 in the wild card. I think he'll have him back. But if he doesn't, that's what we're going to go with. The Texans aren't going to be able to compete with a backup quarterback. I actually think that the Ravens have a good shot. I think that they're going to be able to get to the AFC Championship against the Patriots.
So you think the Ravens end up beating the Browns out of that division then, huh?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Well, I mean, it will, because then they'll have to play the Patriots if everything stays as is. If they do, come out, they would play you right now in the first round.
That's where I think that's where they get a win.
So you're saying you're going to lose?
Well, I'm just saying.
Oh, loser! This guy's a loser. All right, so he says he loses there, and then the guy has to go play the Patriots now because he's 6 seed. Patriots are 1. You think he comes away with the win there?
I do not, but I do think they're gonna. However, the seeding plays out, I just am picking Ravens and Patriots to be in the AFC Championship.
Okay, so the Browns would have to. They'd have to somehow work their way up the ladder a little bit. Browns would have to fold, which I do think the Browns actually fold, and the Browns could actually, if their schedule wasn't so light, but then again, they just lost to the Raiders, so how much can I really trust them? All right, so you have the Ravens and the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. He's got the Eagles-Giants. I just don't see it. I think the Ravens are going to end up playing there. I'm going to go with the Texans and the Patriots. I'm going to pick myself here. If if Watson does have a comeback early, which Lip got one with the Patrick Mahomes, when the time I had Phillip Rivers, the guy who had 1 week left on the Super Bowl, he didn't even come back early once. Whoever my quarterback was at that time, who was it? Was it Stafford? Might have been Stafford. Yeah, he didn't come back early. Let's just say the injuries stay as it is, I don't think Bortles is going to be able to get it done. I would go ahead and say then I'd go with the Chiefs, Patriots. I think the Ravens going to take on the Patriots. I think everything's going to stay as is unless the Jaguars find a way to get behind the Ravens, but they've been playing some pretty good football as well. So I think it'll be Chiefs, Patriots in the AFC. NFC, who you got?
So last year we had this exact same conversation, and I immediately went to Falcons-Panthers, and you had a little bit of a matchup scenario to where you saw that the Cowboys could actually get into that conference championship, and we did see that happen. And I'll recognize that as a good call. And I kind of do think that the Cowboys have taken a good step in the right direction, but I don't know. I still believe in these Falcons to be able to get it done. But I still think it's going to be Falcons-Panthers in the championship, and I do think that the Falcons beat them. Like I said, it's trending in their direction in my mind. So I think that the Falcons are going to get that win over the Panthers. And I'm sorry, but I don't think that. I think that there's 3 players in the NFC right now: Falcons, Panthers, Cowboys. Packers are very close. Vikings
I like the Packers.
A year out, and the Cardinals. 2 weeks ago, I'd have said they got a chance for a playoff
You got the
win.
Vikings over the Packers?
No. I said the Packers are very close. The Vikings are a year out.
Yeah.
The Packers are very close, and I mean that.
Yeah, if everything stays as is, so the first round matchup we're going to have Packers Vikings and then Cardinals Falcons. Falcons going to kill them, and I think the Packers end up defeating the Vikings, which would take the Falcons versus the Panthers. As I said earlier, I'm going Carolina there, so it's going to be Carolina. Then I got the Cowboys versus the Packers. These two teams have met up in the playoffs before, and last season I think plays back into this year. I just don't think the Packers match up well against that ground and pound. There was 31-14 last time these two teams met up. Zeke Elliott, 17 carries, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dak Prescott only had 117 yards. I expect him to get a little more loose in the passing attack, but he did great on the ground. 4 carries, 31 yards, and a touchdown. So 31-14 was it last year. I think much of the same this year. I think the Packers I think the Packers are good. I think they're right there. It's just all about matchups, and the Cowboys aren't a good matchup for them. I actually think the Panthers are a better matchup for them. So I got the Cowboys getting there versus the Carolina Panthers. So I'm Cowboys-Panthers. You're somehow Falcons-Panthers is what you believe, right?
Yep.
All right, so he's got Patriots-Ravens on one side. I got Patriots-Chiefs. He's got Panthers-Falcons. I have Panthers-Cowboys. Now, who do we have going to the Super Bowl?
I kind of already. I still think we're going to get a rematch of last year. I think that the Patriots get to the Super Bowl And the weird thing is, I usually can never say that a 16-0 team. This might be the year that we see it. I just think that they take so much of the field away on defense with Gilmore and their safeties.
And they play very smart. It's almost
on offense. Yeah. It's just so it's one of those situations where I really, like I said, defensively they really.
Has anybody played them tough in the playoffs so far? I mean, has anybody forced them maybe to like an overtime? They had to kick a field goal to get there. Has anybody pushed them? Oh yeah, that's right. Blake Bortles better get ready, baby. I actually like this. If they stay 16-0 and Deshaun Watson doesn't come back, because I'm not betting against myself. But Blake Bortles, I'm going to be realistic here. I'll go Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs versus the Patriots. If the Chiefs can be selective with their deep shots and not turn the ball over and play very smart, use Patrick Mahomes' legs, the defense can make a couple plays, some good user plays. I'm going to take the Chiefs over the Patriots here. Now, it all depends on Deshaun Watson's health, if he comes back early or not, obviously, or I'm going HTX the entire time. But I got Chiefs making it there. Then the Panthers versus the Cowboys, it is such a coin flip because JB in a critical game like this is the perfect storm for OSU to get to the Super Bowl. But I'm just, for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to take the Panthers because they've been a better team this entire season. I'd like to see them get to the Super Bowl. Then you got the Panthers versus the Chiefs. For me, who do you got going in for you?
I've still got the Patriots and the Falcons.
So you got Patriots, Falcons. I got
Rematch.
Chiefs, Panthers, and that will probably be one of the funnest games to watch because Lips finally would be back. He'd be super nervous. JB obviously always super nervous. And it would come down to it would. I think it would be kind of a shootout, but I think Carolina would take it just because their defense is just slightly. I think they can get a stop here or there with Luke Kuechly. But here's the funny part: if Carolina takes Dallas, I still think it's a 50-50 coin flip. I think Dallas could come away with that win, and we could be looking at the Dallas Cowboys versus the New England Patriots. Let's just say. And I think that's a bad matchup for the New England Patriots just because of their ability to run. You're not going to hold this team to 50 yards on the ground. If they can stay with the run game, I think that's another very tough team for the Patriots to have to go through because they do play so much into how great Gilmore is, right? So when you get them into the run defense, we'll see truly how good they are going against the best in the league. In that sense, while the Panthers can hit you with a little bit of this and a little bit of that as far as running and passing go, if it's Chiefs-Panthers, I'm going to lean towards the Panthers. If it's Patriots-Panthers, I'm going with the Patriots. But if the Cowboys sneak in there, man, I'm telling you, don't sleep on Dallas, man. They could ride that perfect storm. They beat the Packers last year. They head in, they take on the Carolina Panthers. JB's thinking he's going to the Super Bowl. He gets a little nervous. Cowboys jump out early. Pressure comes. The Cowboys have a solid defense. They find themselves up in the Super Bowl, taking on the winner of the Patriots or the Chiefs. That's how I see it. And we also got the Ravens. I mean, so many scenarios. The Ravens could, they could beat the Patriots because you know what? The Patriots struggle against mobile quarterbacks. So many things, Lip, we could talk about.
I think what's in the best interest of the entire league is to get the Chiefs versus the Falcons because that game was 48-47, and I think that there was 11 passing touchdowns. It was just fireworks the entire time, and I think for an entertainment purpose,
so we should just let you win. But you're not even picking yourself here. You got a healthy team.
No, but I'm just saying, if you guys want to see 100 points, I think Cringe and I can make that happen.
Well, there we go. If you want to see that, man, they can kind of just red carpet the way for the Chiefs to get in. I think the Patriots might have something to say about that. But right now, the current seedings are Patriots 1, Texans 2, Chiefs 3, Browns 4, Jags 5 in the wild card, and 6 final wild card spot is the Ravens right now. Maybe see some movement with 4 and 6. Maybe the Browns fall to the 6th seed and the Ravens move up. Browns obviously have the tiebreaker, but 2 games left. Browns, if the Browns would have beat the Raiders, man, all they would have to do is win one of their next 2 games. And man, just missed opportunity there for the Cleveland Browns as great as they've played. And it could get really even crazier if the Browns ends up just losing out. The Jaguars will take on the Ravens, so an opportunity for the Ravens to move ahead of the Jags here in Week 16. So a lot of movement, a lot of stuff can happen. Appreciate you guys stopping by this Commissioner Corner podcast, episode number 66. Yeah, man, we got off to a little bit of a technical issue, but we kind of figured it out. And don't forget, Tout's going to be in the playoffs, guys. So we might have some Kyler Murray playoff highlights, or it might just be a complete blowout where they play right at advance and nobody even gets to see it, and we didn't miss much. But playoff Cardinals, that was the theme of the show. We talked about it a little bit. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Any final words for this episode, Lip?
No, we're going to see playoffs, and it's going to be entertaining. There's going to be a lot of entertaining games. You're going to get to see it all.
Entertaining?
And, entertaining.
That's going to be entertaining. Just a lot of entertaining.
Tournament. Big old entertaining tournament.
All right, guys. That's going to do it for the show. Appreciate everybody dropping by. I hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to Darce Knight, JB, and our man Project Skinny, as he came through with some fat graphics for us and some overlay stuff. I mean, shout out to him. He actually came through this week, man. He's going to say, Bomber, I've been coming through. Yeah, you have, man. A little bit. Kinda. NBL Hall of Famer Project Fat. And we're out of here. See you next time here on the Commissioner Corner podcast.